Hi there, welcome to iTWireTV. Today we're talking with Infoblox Managing Director for Australia and New Zealand, Scott Morris. Thank you, Scott, for joining us.
Thanks, David. Pleasure to be here.
I guess, Scott, let's start with what is Infoblox? Can you tell me about Infoblox and what you guys do?
Look, at the very highest level, Infoblox is about building for a world that never stops. We talk about giving you an unparalleled visibility and control over who and what connects to your network. And I think what this does is lets organizations deliver the protection and performance that an enterprise organization needs. Now that's at the very highest level. And I guess the next big question is, well, what does that really mean? When you think about business today being built on millions, billions, trillions of digital connections, these digital connections are made possible by the modern enterprise networks and DDI technology. And to go the next layer down, and I'm sure too many acronyms, DDI is DNS, DHCP, and IPAM. Okay. And we'll get to what each one of those are. But DDI technology is what Infoblox is absolutely famous for.
Right.
And as you think about today's fast evolving and ever more demanding digital world, controlling and securing those connections is really now is mission critical, for every organization. And downtime, disruption due to network outages, due to security breaches are just simply not an option. And so if you kind of go that next layer down, what's DNS, DHCP, and IPAM? DNS is domain name systems, right? Which is really at the very core of it is, how do you resolve what we use as human-based names for web addresses down to a digital signature, or digital footprint on the network. And without DNS, you can't get anywhere within the internet or within your network to be able to resolve and basically put in worldwide www type addresses and get to where you need to. So DNS is imperative to gaining access to networks and infrastructure.
Okay, excellent. So, I mean, yeah, actually, there's a common meme system administrator joke that, it's always DNS. I guess just to delve into that a bit further, I guess, why is DNS security so important? You've spoken about what DNS is, but yeah, why does DNS security matter?
Like there's just so many things, and it's actually the main reason I actually joined Infoblox most recently. Is what you're seeing is a shift in the dynamic of where DNS sits and the relevance of DNS relative to the overall security of organizations. And fundamentally, as I said, DNS, most people, when you talk DNS, they give you that kind of dog with its head on the side look. If you know DNS, you know DNS, and DNS is very much in the domain of the network operations side of the house. And very rarely did the security operations side either interfere or show interest in what DNS does. And by nature of DNS, it's an open protocol. It's designed to let communication and pathways into your organization, and security was generally then driven from firewall up to application, or application down to firewall. And so DNS was just the transport layer that let people into your organization. What's now become very, very obvious, or actually it's not obvious, and that's I guess why we're talking, is most people assume that DNS is covered by their underlying security infrastructure, and it's most likely not. And what we've been able to glean over 20 plus years of working in the DNS space is how do you track and trace, and how do you start to identify anomalous behavior before it even hits your own internal network? And so being able to think, can you identify MAC addresses, what type of device, how long it's been on the network, pretty much all of the signature footprint of anything on your network. We're able to now start applying either blocking technologies or what's known as RPZ, so response policy zone. So applying policies to block, track, trace, and give visibility to those threats before they're even allowed into your organization.
Okay, excellent. And so I guess that's interesting what you said in that divide, I guess, about, DNS, people just set it off or assume. So I guess that's the reason why Infoblox is now calling on the industry to unite networking and security teams. Is that the basis behind it, or is there something more?
This is a call to unite, to I guess oil and water from within the organizations. And the vision is a future where networking and security unites to power a world that never stops. It really is critical. And on the conversations that I've certainly been having is, when you do speak to a security side of the house, as I said, that you talk to them about DNS, and it's not that they don't understand it. They understand it, but they go, okay, well, when there's a problem, we'll deal with it. And typically security tends to be response. How do you respond after an incident? How do you go and track and trace and do a lot of work to understand and then put a remediation in place? DNS security or secure DNS is really about putting remediation in place before you need to have an incident. And so it's preemptive, and there's a term in the industry called shift left, and that's all around the kill chain of how quickly or how early in the chain you can get to actually stop some form of malicious intent. There is a recent global study that was done by the NSA, so the security practice of the NSA, that had a statistic in there that said 92% of malware could be reduced by putting in DNS related security capability.
92%, that's incredible. Wow.
92%. Yeah, I could shoot that, get that report through to you.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess you make a great point. It's better, imagine not having to have your company's name on the front page of the news because of a breach if you prevent that breach happening. And yeah, it's better to deal with an issue before it occurs. So,
well, if you think about the concept of bringing network operations and security operations together, it's about how do you get the world's most trusted core network services and blend that with the security services to see and stop critical threats before they occur.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And I understand today Infoblox is launching a lookalike domain monitoring capability. What's that mean, and what does what does that bring to the table?
Yeah, so as we continue to augment and continue to add onto our threat defense capability of our software as a service threat defense initiatives, one of the key challenges that we see, and there was a 2023 global study that we did, which is the global state of cybersecurity, of which I think there was over 1,000 respondents, of which there was 100 from the Australian New Zealand organisation. So we do have some statistical representation from ANZ, and one of the biggest challenges that was identified out of that, and more importantly, more than 57% of those organisations had actually had a breach or multiple breaches attempt in the last 12 months. But one of the biggest challenges, or where they felt most vulnerable, was around the ongoing phishing and malware attempts to get access into their organizations. And so if you think what it sounds like is what it is, lookalike websites and domains are exactly that. A Westpac Bank, as an example, somebody spoofing and looking exactly like the right addresses. And I think we have been a lot better educated, and I think people are a little more wary of just clicking on a link. The malicious vendors and threats that are out there are getting much more clever at masking that domain address to, at face value, still make an address look like a valid address, and then taking you off to effectively a lookalike domain. And there's all kinds of ways. There's substitution of a zero instead of a letter O, at the basics, or they use other character substitutions in different alphabets that look like the same character, but to the naked eye, just unless you really picked it up and physically copied the link and put it into a Google search bar, you wouldn't actually see an anomaly coming up. And so adding these layers of preemptive, so again, this is about preemptive support and being able to identify those and block them and put them on known threat lists and block lists, and give you the opportunity to immediately shut those down or plug into your existing threat defense systems, your SIEM players, your ticketing services to give automated response and control over your network.
Yeah, okay. No, very interesting, very comprehensive. I guess, how does that differ from what solutions may already exist on the market? What's new?
Look, I think there's a lot of scrambling at the moment from a marketplace perspective. And as I say, when you think about traditional security, they've been firewall up. versus specifically related to DNS related services, and a number of those security organizations are scrambling to come up with a DNS offering. Where Infoblox absolutely differs is we've spent the last 20 odd years being domain specialists in DNS and have a very, very distinct level of granular detail as relates to DNS that just allows us to be able to find and identify and lock down those threats a lot sooner than what we're seeing from a competitive standpoint. Another, I guess, good example of that, and not so much from a lookalike domain point of view, but just 4 days ago, Infoblox actually was recognized as identifying a malware called Decoy Dog, which is a DNS level command and control beacon software that was initiated out of Russia. And again, through our advanced threat detection capabilities, we've actually identified that. We've published all of those malignant sites that carry that. And again, it's about how do we make the world a safer place. With with Infoblox, you can deliver the protection and the performance that that you need as you thrive in a world that never stops.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's fantastic. I guess, like, we joked before, system administrators always say it's always DNS. I guess in this case, Infoblox can mean it's not DNS. We've got you covered. Okay.
Yes.
Love it. So I guess another thing, I've heard about the Infoblox Exchange. So can you tell me more about that and when and where that is happening?
Yes, indeed. So we have our premier event coming up in May, and I've got to just check the dates because I should have had it on the top of my head, and I thought I did, and I to make sure I get it right. On Sydney, the 25th of May, and on Melbourne on the 23rd of May. So 2 days apart, but Exchange for Infoblox Exchange is really our premier customer event, customers and partners, and it's designed to enable and enlighten, and I guess a great opportunity for bringing in that top of mind on networking and security operations working together. So we'll be putting together an agenda that has all things security, all things DNS and networking, and really provide the latest and greatest on how do we provide that unparalleled visibility and control over who and what connects to your network.
Yeah, fantastic. How do people find more information on that, on Infoblox Exchange, if they're interested in attending?
I will have to give you a link, and we should, but certainly if you go to the Infoblox website, there is a link on those pages to gain access and registration if you're interested.
Fantastic. Excellent. And I guess, Scott, in your position, being able to see all these global events and things like that, I guess what advice can you give about, I guess, the future of cybersecurity? What do you see as the direction things are heading?
Yeah, so been in this industry a long time, and it never ceases to amaze me. Just you can't keep up with all of the information all the time, and I think there is a genuine curiousness in IT to understand what's going on. I think from an Infoblox point of view, our mission is to simplify and unite networking security at the simplest layer. Don't assume, and be prepared, and it's okay to say you don't know. And I think the real challenge is how do you get that delivering of protection and performance at the same time? Your budgets are always shrinking, but the focus on security continues to scale. I think be vigilant, be aware, but also make sure that don't assume that you think you're covered. Ask the question, and it's okay to reach out, and we'll certainly help you out. We've got health checks and capabilities to be able to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. No, it's been wonderful. I appreciate everything you've told me. I guess, is there any other things on your mind as well that you'd like to share with iTWire viewers?
The top of mind is, how do we simplify and unite that networking and security community? As I said, it's the more we can bring security operations and network operations together with a united theme of resolving and coming up with and resolving the biggest threats and challenges together, I think becomes just the critical endpoint that we need to focus on.
Yeah, fantastic. No, I appreciate that. And if people want to find more about Infoblox, I guess infoblox.com.au is the website.
That is absolutely correct.
Excellent. Excellent. No, well, thank you for your time, Scott. That's been wonderful.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the time.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, David.